often those old elite, the aristocrats, the nobles, the colonial settlers, are often destroyed or diminished during this chaos phase. It's always happening in these places where the revolution takes place. But then after the revolution, what actually happens is a new class of elites emerge. It's not a situation, it's never a situation where there are no more elites. Everybody is equal, everybody is treated fairly, everybody gets justice. No. The revolutions in this world as it stands right now, yes, the revolution happens. Yes, somebody else sits in a chair that wasn't sitting in the chair before, but those who were in the underclass and who are not among the elite, who are not among the privileged, who are not among the quote-unquote class, their situation doesn't change, if not getting worse. That's always the case. Let me go ahead and read Carter G. Woodson's statement here, and this is for us to also understand. He says, history shows that it does not matter who is in power or what revolutionary forces take over the government. Those who have not learned to do for themselves and have to depend solely on others never obtain any more rights or privileges in the end than they had in the beginning. It's Carter G. Woodson. So the point is, like, what is it saying? It's rhetorical, but it applies, where it says, there are those who watch things happen, there are those who make things happen, and there are those who wonder what happened. And we used to crack about it. I'll mention it right here. You've heard this before. We're the people that's always asking, what's happening? What's happening? Why are we always asking what's happening? Maybe it's because we don't know what's happening. And whether we know what's happening or not, it's happening. All right? And this, and my comments here are not to depress you, not to frighten you, not to enrage you. Inshallah, the idea is just to inform. Because I'll say it again, it's happening. It's happening. The revolutions as they take place, they don't always take place with guns and bombs and what. They're quiet revolutions. And before you know it, everything has changed, and you didn't even know how it changed, when it changed. You can go to sleep in the world such as it is right now. You can go to sleep, wake up in the morning, whole different thing. You know, that whole mask, COVID, 6 feet separation, that whole thing. How long did that take to put in place? Bang, bang. So it can't happen again. It's very important. So these are the facts of the situation as it is right now. So there becomes, after the revolution, after the chaos phase, there becomes this restoration phase. This phase where, okay, everything is back to what we deem to be normal now. And what happens is this new elite class emerges, whether they be in the old language where you have the bourgeois capitalists in France and Germany. And all that means is the middle and upper class, But I have to say this also. The middle class is being destroyed right now. It's very important. The middle class, such that there is no middle. There's only going to be the haves and the have-nots. There's no middle. Usually the middle can be a bridge to either negotiate or to climb on to get into the quote-unquote upper echelon. But if somebody has climbed up that ladder and kicked the ladder off the wall. And so if you're not already up there before this quote-unquote revolution takes place, then you can become a part of the permanent underclass, which includes our children and our grandchildren. And these things that I'm talking about, they have an average lifetime of 80 years. For example, the World War II thing ended 1945. A whole new economic order, a new world order, was established in 1945 with the agreements between Britain and Russia and America and that whole alliance, if you will. Other things were going on, but 1945, what time is it right now? 2025. What am I saying? Based on the cycle, based on the history, based on the pattern, we are at the end of an order and the chaos is present. All you got to do is ask, do you understand what's going on? Just ask yourself. Do you understand? Do you know who's right? Do you know who's wrong? Do you know what's true? Do you know what's false? Do you know what's the right thing to do? Do you know what's the trick? Chaos is here and it's rising. And then you also have those who create chaos. That's the flip side of the subject. Allah brings order out of chaos. But there are also those who depend on bringing chaos into the order to create problems for which they already have the solution. But they want you to cry for the solution so it doesn't look like they were the ones that imposed the solution on you. Oh, somebody do something. Look at what they're doing over there. And look at what they're doing over there. Somebody please help. Yes, ma'am. Can I help you? What do you need? Well, look, they're doing this and then they're doing that. Okay, step over here. Hey, get over here. Get over here. Okay, we got you covered. But you have to give up this liberty, you have to give up that liberty, you have to give up this freedom, you have to give up this constitutional right, but we'll keep you safe. That was always the plan. To dictate and control and manage your life and limit your freedoms to keep you from being an obstacle by the free expression of your God-given reality. But I can't just take it from you. I got to create a crisis so that when I do it and I tell you, stay in your house. I'm doing that because, well, you gave me the right to do that. You wanted my help, right? So stay in your house. And when you come out, put that mask on. I ain't mad at nobody that still wear masks. It's okay. Do what you got to do for you. But you do that because that's what you want to do. What I'm just trying to speak to, you still have that freedom right now. So a new elite gets formed, whether it be the bourgeois capitalists in France and Germany or the party bureaucrats. Do you think that the Putins and the other oligarchs of the world, they were in the same class of the rest of the people in Russia during the height of the Communist Party? Were they living equally? Were they living in the same way? Did they enjoy wealth? That is, the Politburo, whatever the name of it was, the leading class of were they living the same way as the peasants? You know that's not the case. They just traded places with the former elite. And now the norm is this. And we have the power, and we eat caviar, and we drive Rolls Royces, and we live in the chalets, et cetera, but it's all for the people. Just traded places. Same way in post-colonial Africa, you had that same kind of switch up where there was a revolution, but then you had quote unquote puppets, strong men, exploiting, taking advantage of that, and many of them under the rubric of what his name, John Perkins, I believe, is called the economic hitman. The economic hitman. That was the way the game was run, you know. And so when we see these stories in the hood about, you know, rappers, gangsters, junior mafia, whatever the case, I know that's all, but whatever the case may be, the point is that all we're doing is just imitating how it operates in the world. Oh, that's how you do that? You just set up shop and run it the way you, whoever you can take out, just take them out. And it's yours, you know, and keep your head on a swivel before you get took out. But then again, life is short, life is cheap, you know, charge it to the game, right? So, but that's the way that the world is. That's the way that the world is, and those are our models. So that's the history, that's the pattern. But where are we now? Or rather, and where are we now? America is at the end of what's called the Inquisitor era. And you're in that condition, that is, a country is in that condition when the chaotic transition is at work. We are already in transition. That's why there's chaos. That's why there's confusion. That's why there's a lack of clarity. There's a lack of clarity as to, is this constitutional? Is it not? Does he have the right to do that? No. This is one quick example, just blatantly, right? I'm pretty sure felons lose the right to vote. I don't know. I think I think California may have had a rule that changed that or something. I don't know. If it is, y'all can correct me later. But the point is that just in the light of the fact of saying that a felon loses the right to vote or lost in some, historically, if it's not the case right now, lost that, then when we're informed that you have a convicted felon in the White House, a convicted felon, straight up. I mean, and I think it was 34 counts. And some are saying, no, he couldn't be a felon because a felon can't be president. Yeah, you have a felon who's the president. What is that telling us? It's that there's something in our mind and something in our thinking and something in our reasonableness that says, well, look, if a felon can't vote, how in the hell can a felon be a president? I'm confused. What we might not also understand is that 47 has a long history with the FBI without even talking about the files. He has a long history. When you come out of New York and you build in buildings, you've dealt with gangsters on a whole lot of different levels. Atlantic City, and there's no gangster in your life? And then some will say, I can just run this just like a gangster. Because the people are too weak to stop me, the laws are unclear, I know how to play the courts, I know how to play the law. I tell you, I'm not trying to depress anything or keep it low, but this little piece of humor came in my thinking, prepping for this today. I was listening to somebody. I think they're in the room. I can't remember. I'm not going to point them out. But if you remember this, then you bring it back to my attention after, if we see each other. And that is, we were talking about, doing time. We have many returning citizens in our community. Alhamdulillah, some of the strongest that you're going to find in the Ummah. I bear witness. Alhamdulillah, Rashid Ali, Rashid Shabazz, just to name a couple. Imam Abu Qadir Alameen, Rahimullah alayhum, on all of them. So we were having a conversation outside there. Somebody said, I have been given 15 years with a kickstand or something. I mean, I really don't know what it is. I don't. But when I heard it, I said, oh man, it's like, I shouldn't feel this way, but that really sounded cool. It's sort of like, I got 15 years with a kickstand, right? And I didn't even ask what a kickstand was. I didn't want to mess up the moment, you know what I'm saying? So if any of y'all know that, hit me with it after that's over. So the point that I'm making in that is that that's someone who is very familiar with the system. You got the slang, you got the nickname, you got the language for the criminal counts and sentencing. You're pretty familiar with the system. You don't think 47 is very familiar with the system? That's what he told him when he was in that panel debate in one of his elections, probably the Hillary Clinton election. So that must have been 2016, I guess. The point is that, look, I know y'all, I know the game. Y'all used to come to me to get money from me, so I know you. And I know the ones that support you, and I know that they just like me. So he's like, miss me with that. And that's how he's running. He has no regard for what we say, the rule of law. Because he knows the law can be bent, twisted, overrode. You can create a complexity in the judicial system in your case that would take 6-8 months to even come back to the court to talk about it. And I'm in the executive position 8 months. I can do a hell of a lot in 8 months. And then you come back there, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, I didn't know. Let me say this as I conclude this portion of the khutbah. That the next 12 months, I'm saying to you, the chaos is, quote unquote, just beginning. Whatever we're feeling now, this is still just the beginning. Because there are midterm elections coming up in November. And that's kind of like the last exit. You have been on a road where you know, if you miss that exit, you're going to have to go a long way in order to get back to where you're trying to get to. Midterm elections, for both those who intend good and those who intend evil. That's the point. That's the deciding line. The midterm elections. So whatever needs to be broken, disrupted, undermined, taken away by those who intend to just do what they want to do and capture the entire nation for generations, they have to do it before, and they have to do it within and with a victory in the midterm elections. So what does that mean? You got to get whoever that is, the good and the bad, if you will, have to go to work being conscious of that point in history, because if the power position doesn't change, for the better, then you're looking at generations of being fixed in a very low, horrible condition under a new elite class, which inshallah we say more about. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ آمين. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we've said that America is at the end of an inquisitor era. There are basically 4 cycles. Forgive me for not elaborating on all of them. The laborers, the warriors, the intellectual, the inquisitor. These are eras that societies go through. We start at the laborer level, then it evolves to the warrior level, then it evolves to the intellectuals, and then it evolves to the acquisitor. And when the acquisitor gets in, it becomes such that nobody can have a livable situation because so much of the wealth has been sucked up and controlled and taken away from everybody below, taken away from the laborers, taken away from the warriors, taken away from the intellectuals. And now it's the people with all the money and the power, and they are in such a situation that exaggerated condition leads to a collapse in the society as a whole. That's where we are right now. That's the kind of thing that happened in 2008. 2008 was really a mark for what I'm saying to you right now. But let's push past this. Most likely in the near future, what comes after that acquisitive era is a warrior dominant phase. I hope you remember what we said. Allah says, look at the history and see what happened to the people before you. You will not see a change in my sunnah. We have gone through a cycle. We are at the end of the cycle where the extreme differential of the haves and the have-nots is reaching a very, it has reached a critical point of collapse. And this is the phase that we're in. But what comes after that? When there is this collapse, what comes after that is a warrior dominant phase. And what phase is that? Where there's an authoritarian leader and or a techno-military established order. I'm going to recommend publication. You need to know it. Look at it. Surveillance Valley. Look at that. Look at that. Have you noticed how many tech billionaires are in the cabinet and in the leadership of this White House? These are new billionaires. These are not old billionaires. These are new billionaires. This is new money. These are new elites. And they control the things that control most of the people in the world. Our faces planted on our Facebooks and our YouTubes and our TikToks and our Googles and all that. And they're getting the information, sending us information, controlling our perception, controlling our sentiments, telling us who to like, telling us what not to like, distracting us like cats following a laser dot on the floor. But that's exactly what they want to do. Because as long as I got you distracted, you're not a problem for me. And not only that, I can create through that same media an echo chamber for the red people and an echo chamber for the blue people and make them hate each other and think that it's their thinking. And I asked myself this the other day. Said, what happened to the donkey and the elephant? I mean, right? I mean, all our life, the donkey was the Democrats and the elephant was the Republicans. I said, who took the elephant and the donkey and replaced it with red and blue? Maybe that's why Republicans and Democrats act like Crips and Bloods. I hate you, don't know why I hate you. Whatever anybody tell me bad about you, I believe it. I don't care. I'll create a story. I'll make up a story about you and tell it to people as though it's true. And then when I'm called on it, I'll double down on my lie. Not only did you do that, you did this and that and this and that. So that's the creation of this antagonism, like what was stated in Gangs of New York, in that movie, when the chaos and the revolution and the rebellion of the underclass was coming against those oil magnates, industrial magnates that were dominating that. That's also up there in the eastern seaboard, out there in the New York area. He said, we never have to worry about the poor, because we can always get one half to kill the other half. These are the situations, these are the manipulations that we are facing. And we have to be careful about that. The only things that in terms of taking just this limit of time, just a couple of things that I just have to mention and move on. Our situation right now mirrors the French Revolution, the Weimar Republic, the Russian Revolution, and post-colonial Africa strongmen cycles. That's what comes up after. The only possible difference would occur if there's an intellectual and moral movement that intervenes. It's rare, but that's a third option that could happen if an intellectual and moral movement intervenes in that case. But among America's three possibilities, which would be called or identified as the hard warrior path, which I'm saying after the acquisitive class collapses and then the authoritarian ruler comes in, then that's an automatic warrior path, meaning there's going to be war. There's going to be war if things continue to go in the way that they are, and there are so many indications that that's the way it's going to go. One of which is the fact that the Department of Defense in America has recently been renamed the Department of War. I mean, there's only two sides. There's defense and there's offense. So if we're not the Department of Defense, then we must plan to be the Department of Offense. And that has already happened. It's already happened. General Wesley Clark, the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, in 2007, he had an interview that took place less than 2 weeks after the 9/11 attacks. And one of the senior Pentagon officials told him, and you should look into, I mean, if to the extent that you're interested in knowing, sometimes people don't want to know, but I'll tell you, the Project for a New American Century is something to look at. If you know something about Project 2025, then you should also know something about the Project for a New American Century. This, they had indicated at that time, 2 weeks after 9/11, this is in September of 2001, said that they are going to take out 7 countries in 5 years. And those 7 countries were Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. For as far as effectively neutralizing the other 6, they did that. You just saw the most recent attempt to get at Iran. And don't think that Iran showed them something, mashallah. Iran showed them something and said, you really want to do this? I mean, really? I mean, have you heard anything since that time? Have you heard anything? You ain't heard nothing. But don't think, Shaitan never sleeps. Don't think, okay, all right, you got me. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I caught it. Yeah. But we don't give up. And it's a part of a bigger plan. But what is the commonality of these nations? For all intents and purposes, you can just simply call them Muslim nations. So we need to be aware that the plan is already at work. And you may, and you should be apprised to know and understand that, obvious as it might seem when stated, it's like economics is behind it all. Money is behind it all. That's what's behind it all. And just to give a bit of advice, and inshallah at another portion we'll talk about, I want to remind, since I've mentioned the economic aspects of it, even though there are 3, I'll just limit myself today to just this one. There are things that we have to do to protect ourselves from what I'm trying to point to. It's inevitable. What's going on is meaning a continued movement towards instability, chaos, etc. And I say again, especially within the next year. And Allahu Alam, Allah knows. Allah could change everything. Allah is in charge. But we are to tie a camel and trust in Allah. Okay? So that means we need to know. So the economics behind it all, or rather some of the economics behind it all, is such that what it calls for us, we have to work to get our economic affairs more and more in order. We have to become increasingly less economically dependent. Because if it happens right away, if it happens right now, if it happens tonight, if it happens tomorrow, the collapse, the change. Because there's work going on in the background that we don't see. So when they're ready to snap the trap, it's like you just wake up, you hear it on the news, and it's done. But presuming there is still some time to begin to prepare ourselves for the best against the worst, one of the primary things is to reduce your debt, increase your economic situation, increase our collective economic participation with each other. We need to learn how to leverage the wealth that we have with each other, because this is what is going to happen. This is inevitable. What's going to happen, the way that technology is evolving, technology is taking away jobs from people and they're being replaced. So the income position of vast numbers, and especially of us, whoever's in this demographic, if you're in this room, you're in this demographic, okay? Whoever is in that situation, there's going to be a situation where the diminishing of income coming from the changes in technology and the increased dependency of those that we're connected with for sources of income, because they've lost those sources of income, is going to increase stress on our families, on our communities, on our neighborhoods. And everybody's going to need more and more help, aid, and assistance, or it's just going to be all-out brawling between families and neighbors, etc., because the wherewithal to sustain ourselves in living is fading away, is going away. The underpinning for our ability to eat and feed and live is going to be diminishing in this process. So that means that we have to do more and more of those things that strengthen us collectively against the fallout from a situation that is inevitable. So may Allah guide us to the best. May Allah increase us in our awareness and our obedience. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayy al-qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sanatan wa la nawm. له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفعه عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يعوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. اللهم صل الله محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يحكم الحساب. O Allah, forgive us our faults and anything we may have done to transgress our duties. Establish our feet firmly and help us against those who stand against faith. Ameen. Allahumma ameen.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya salat, hayya al falah. Qad qamat as-salat, qad qamat as-salat.